It is the closing day of BlizzCon here at the Anaheim Convention Center, and we're hot off of yesterday's quarterfinal matches here at the HGC Finals. For those of you watching online, thank you so much for being here with us. And for those of you in the house, we have got a lot of work to do today. We're shifting our matches from best of threes to best of fives, and I'm gonna need your help to make sure we give these teams the credit they deserve for all the skill and commitment they put into this incredible game. I'll be your host, Kevin Michael Johnson, and of course the story for today is Korea versus Europe. I believe it's safe to say that by the end of today, we'll be able to settle that open question of which region truly is the best. We'll start things off with our first matchup. MVP Black will take on Team Expert, and then we'll follow that with a rematch of last year's grand finals at BlizzCon. Ballistics from Korea taking on EU's Fnatic. And of course, we'll close the day with our grand finals where we will crown a champion. I'm excited to be here with you. Are you guys excited? Fantastic. Well, these teams are playing for the right to claim to be the best, for regional pride, and of course, a whole lot of cash. Let's head over to the desk and check out Kylaris and the crew to get this day started.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Very excited indeed as we have day number 2 of BlizzCon for the HGC 2017 Finals, and 3 previous world champions and 1 contender head into the round of 4. To my left-hand side, I'm joined by Wolf, we have Jayhow, and we have Grubby here to kick things off. But first, of course, we had yesterday our round of 8 conclude. We had some varied results that not a lot of us expected, Jayhow, with some crazy surprises in the mix.
Yeah, North America showed up yesterday, and I think that they kind of stumbled at the finish line. They couldn't quite close it out, but the better teams prevailed in the best of 3. The one thing that stands out to me, it still feels like despite all of the games, the best of 3s, it just doesn't feel like the meta has fully formed yet. I really want to see how that plays out today.
I feel like we're going to see a lot more stability in terms of draft today with North America out. They were really the big outliers going into this. The other outlier, I think, being MVP Black, the only team that's really prioritizing Ana right now. So I think that's something to really look forward to today, is if they continue that trend.
Grubby, a lot of cool and interesting things that went into yesterday with a lot of, as you know, Jayhow's mentioning, there was a lot of kind of cheese plays, a lot of attempts to kind of trick people out, but in the end, the tricks weren't really that successful in a full series sense.
But I think it's an absolutely great idea to use these one tricks in a best of 3. Do it twice and you will actually advance. It's not as hard in such a format. But you know, the thing that stands out the most for me from yesterday is that there was a lot of success story for some of the North American teams, but also a lot of grief, because I feel like their first maps that they won, for the most part, they were quite fundamentally solid. And in some of the later drafts, in some way, they had some kind of mental breakdown. Right. And they didn't need to go that route, I think. So as much as we say, like, oh, you know, NA plays, you know, different strategies, what have you.
Yeah.
I don't think it was needed. And I do think NA did show up to play, but there was also, of course, disappointment, as there always is with competitions.
Well, that whittled it down to 4 teams here for the HGC 2017 Finals. And just in case you missed yesterday, we can rewind time just a little bit and get you up to speed with what happened. So, of course, it will be Team Freedom going up against MVP Black, where Team Freedom looks to find opportunity here, going up against a former world champion, where most people would feel a diverse and difficult task ahead of them.
The age is being used right away on Kier. Here is the performance of Souls. He dives towards the back line.
Ragnaros on the other side, going for the Molten Core. Rich trying to cut off the path of retreat, but Tist is in a little bit of trouble. Here comes the Soul Forest match. Everybody on the side of Team Freedom is already low, as we see once again EGC going down just seconds before he has much available.
And more members are low for Team Freedom. Divine Shield will be used. Reset is kiting backwards. Rich here to carry him in his arms. Turns around with the big so fierce smash. Will land on top of Dansky. He's getting lower and lower. Finally, he will fall. Collusion, the only member left. Never mind, everyone's down. Team Freedom falls.
As much as he can, he might get away here, but no, Collusion confirms the kill, and now Tis might be in trouble too.
Team Freedom makes the moment happen for them here. They're going for Tis. The combo comes out. Dragon Blade being used like Math Life. Will go ahead. He's coming to Souls. He's hitting everyone though. They're getting low. Team Freedom has 3 kills. Can they get a 4th? Socket! He will fall. Kyoto, the only one to leave, but they don't care about him. Let's go to boss.
ETC is down, and here comes the Void play once again. They're going in, the silence hit the isolation, but it's Freedom who's low. Freedom about to lose Chromie here, and that's not the only hero that goes down. Genji dies as well. He's going for the team. Freedom is losing game number 2 as the Korean team takes the series with a 2-0 victory and moves on to the semi-final. And we can see that right in front of us as Team Freedom throws everything at them, but the coordination that we have on the side of MVP Black is just too much to handle.
Of course, Team Dignitas will go up against Team Expert as old teammates here on the BlizzCon stage are going to be reignited as enemies.
But Leoric is sniffing it out. Aethero will be too late here. He tries to go for it. He's trying to buy time. Aethero is being attacked. They're going for Leoric. He moves back out and he dies.
No, he turns around with the
What?
punch. He's turning around here. Baker's getting low. Finally, he will fall. Or collide with Dignitas' core. 12 to 5.
Oh!
Nick moves in and he stuffs it. Oh, how do they survive here? Team Dignitas is holding here. The core continues to fall at 60% down to 50. Bad Benny landing a storm ball. It's going to keep Snitch on the backside. JPL jumps forward, but it's not enough. Team Expert, they get the first win of the best of 3 series.
Tracer is down at 5 versus 4, but Dignitas finds themselves on the run as Leoric is still at the top.
JPL, he's gonna fall
my
New York.
God.
He's channel in the top left corner. If he gets his channel, he'll be able to take the game here. Zalia's about to fall as well, but the 5 shots come in. Team Expert has stuck New York, and they have gotten the victory over Dignitas.
So it's EU going up against NA here as Tempo Storm is hopeful about their chances against the world champions.
They're channeling.
They're channeling.
One has to stop it.
If they get this channel, the game is over. Breeze ends up going down.
Roden's gone. Soft hits another polymon. It's Roden to grab Wubby. This is going to be Tempo Storm's game. Tempo Storm will win a game. Game 1 over Fnatic.
Tempo Storm bringing it here in game number 1. Swinging. I have no idea. You hear the crowd. USA.
I hear the crowd.
They are so behind Tempo Storm.
Assault and Fury go in on top of Fnatic. They've got Wubby though with Tormented Souls, and Kerrigan is blown up.
They get themselves Kerrigan. They find the Sonya immediately after 87% exists onto the core. But Fnatic, they're not going to aggress over quite yet. Lock down the bottom keep, and now it seems like they are done. They are ready to send Tempo Storm back home. Fnatic showing why they are one of the best teams, why they are your reigning champions.
Roll20 looks to pull into their bag of tricks against the Ballistics, who understands the threat of North America more than ever.
We see Jonghyun trying to go in. The knockback is there. Power slide follow up, and Jonghyun goes down. The Immortal, it goes down. 30.
25, and it's gonna go down. Roll20 Esports will take out Ballistics in game 1. There's gonna be shots in the top. A dragon hits Justin.
Will Buds be able to silence these shots to remove them from the core? The pressure in, the damage there, and another kill for Ballistics. They are unrelenting here. All it takes is one altar for the members of Ballistics. Dahaka is going to go ahead and start this bottom channel, and if there is no interrupts, doesn't matter. Zeratil's got it. Ballistics is going to be able to take this here in dominant fashion over Roll20, 2-1.
Ballistics will move on through the quarterfinals and join Fnatic in the semifinals, making it a rematch of the grand finals of BlizzCon last year. Both of these teams, Fnatic and Ballistics, feeling like they're going to a grand championship position, the championship tournament for the first time, but only one will be able to go on to the grand finals.
Emotions were riding high in day number 1, as you could see at the very end there. A bit of a brutal blow to Roll20 at the very end of the day, but it all kind of fell apart for them going up against a team like Ballistics, who was very, very powerful in that series, Grubby.
Roll20 took the first map, but then the experience and the power of Ballistics shone through as they adapted and widened up to Roll20's plans and were able to take that series back 2-1.
Yeah. Let's check in with the prize pool to see exactly how much is on the line. Not only the title of becoming a world champion, but also $1 million in total. All of these teams today have already secured themselves $75,000 here on the stage, and now they're looking to contend for $200,000, or of course that $500 first prize. So much on the line. I think we do believe that this is the biggest prize pool in a Heroes tournament of all time so far. So there is no short change here, Wolf. It's very, very important for them.
Yeah, I mean, MVP Black, for example, with this top 4 finish, they've actually themselves earned over $1 million as an organization in Heroes of the Storm. Winning this would bring them to $1.4 million. I think that's one of their big goals, and making this prize pool so great is for MVP Black, who's a storied organization. It's got to feel amazing. They're so close to basically breaking more and more records in terms of prize earnings.
That's funny. Earning $1.4 million is one of my personal goals too.
Nice.
But think about what it means for Expert. We look at theirs, it's probably doesn't reach the same stature as MVP Black. I said it yesterday, this is life-changing money for some of these people, especially the newer guys on stage.
It definitely is, and I believe, Grubby, you're about 90% there with your esports history, right? So you're doing all right. Let's check in with the bracket, see exactly how things are going down throughout the day, as well as what happened yesterday, as we previously showed you. 2 0s and 2 1s yesterday, with the top half of the bracket being a bit more solidified for the teams going through, whereas the bottom half was a bit more shaky. That results in 4 teams left. MVP Black, a world champion. Fnatic, a world champion. Ballistics, a world champion. And Team Expert, contenders to those thrones, Wolf.
I mean, you look at this bracket, I feel like MVP Black looks to be the most dominant team, still the only team not to drop a map. Ballistics dropped a map yesterday, so when you're looking at Korea specifically, Black seems to be the more dominant team, is running a newer meta, and I think that Ballistics could certainly be upset tonight if they don't tighten up their play, because yes, they showed adaptation yesterday, but I think you're going to have to come out of the gates with a good plan prepared.
And it comes back to those best of 5s being a bit more solid, especially for these teams that do consider themselves world champions.
When you look back at mid-season brawl, one of the things that the Korean team struggled with was a little bit of EU flavor that we had. And Expert, I said it yesterday during the matchup of Expert versus Dignitas, is that they're very similar in their play style, but I think it gets a little bit different when we talk about Expert and what they like to do differently. So I think the potential is there for Expert in this matchup. So while Black does look dominant, could see a surprise early today.
We'll see. Let's check in with the schedule, as we do have the rundown completely of which of our matches are going to be coming along, and then obviously the grand final at the very end. You couldn't really do that before a semi. That would be a little bit weird. So we will have later Fnatic going up against Ballistics. But our first match to start things off is MVP Black going up against Team Expert. And Grubby, we've seen that for Expert actually trumping, Team Dignitas yesterday as well as they did. It was a little bit up in the air. How was that going to go out? Because we'd never seen them on land setting, but Expert came out to play. Yeah,
I mean, Expert right now, they're 6-2 in the tournament, beating Dignitas 2-0, improved upon their 4-2 group record, and, where they lost to Ballistics for that match. So Expert, I would say they're definitely the 4th most likely team to win this tournament, just in my opinion. I think Black is probably the most favorite, Ballistics, and then Fnatic and an Expert. But they are here to play, and they already made one upset beating Dignitas.
Yeah, I feel like this is a David and 3 Goliaths story for Expert. But when you look at it, I mean, every single team in this top 4 is an exciting storyline. The rematch of last year's BlizzCon finals in the semis. We could have that Fnatic Black rematch of the semifinals last season. And you have this story for Expert who upset Dignitas. Maybe they could be the first team to take a map off of MVP Black. And I feel like no matter which way you look at this top 4, it's a very exciting semifinals.
Yeah. Not only exciting, to me this is the most compelling Heroes tournament we've ever had. It was always preached about for the longest time. The HGC League that kind of came into play this year has basically changed the landscape of Heroes as we know it. A team like Team Expert last year, they would get together for the regionals, come in, they wouldn't quite get there, and then like, can they break into the top 3? And now we see the cohesion of what a league can do to bring up the stature of all the other regions that kind of lack that structure. And now we've got players, and I talked about Nick all day yesterday, I'll talk about him today until this man leaves the tournament. The development of this player alone, and Bad Benny, players like that, to have this development in the league structure, it really changes the game here, I think, at this tournament. I for one, am extremely interested.
Well, we're almost ready for our first best of 5 here to start off the round of 4. Team Expert, the challengers, goes up against the might, the empire that is MVP Black.
상황에서 e스포츠를 만나면은 정말 하나의 변수가 일어났다고 생각해요. e스포츠가 디그니를 잡을 거라고는 생각을 많이는 안 하고 있어요. 잡을 수 있다고 생각하는데 디그니가 상대적으로 세다고 생각하고 e스포츠랑 스크림을 많이 해봤어요. 저희가 그래가지고 만약에 e스포츠가 올라오면은 디그니보다는 상대적으로 쉬울 것 같아요.
엑스퍼트는 저희가 연습 때도 많이 상대해봤는데 그렇게 특별히 힘든 그런 팀은 아니고 약간 그들이 갑자기 변칙적인 그런 걸 좋아하기 때문에 저희가 그냥 평소에 하던 대로 하면은 그들은 저희가 쉽게 꺾을 수 있을 것 같아요.
작년 블리즈컨 경험상 역시 여기는 서양 땅이다 보니까 서양 쪽에 대한 응원이 많은 것 같고 그렇다 해가지고 딱히 큰 문제는 될 것 같지는 않아요.
Okay, so the crowd at BlizzCon is completely different than anything that we had before in other tournaments. At BlizzCon you have a lot of people and they're also like very enthusiastic about what's happening.
So we're in the semifinals now, playing against MVP Black, and a lot of the teams are saying that it's the hardest matchup or whatever, but we're actually feeling pretty good going into them. We've had good results in practice against them and we feel we can take them down. I think the difference in skill is not that much as it's been in different events, so it's going to be really interesting to see what upsets can happen and how the teams will play against each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me get this day started as we introduce from EU, in the red corner, Team Expert! And on the blue side, none other than Korea's MVP Black! Captains, please. Good luck, gentlemen. Kalaris, let's get this match started.
That's indeed, my friend. All three of the European teams before this tournament began made the pilgrimage to the mecca of esports that is South Korea. And from that, the whispers on the wind were that Expert was able to accomplish the most there. How will that stack up going up against MVP Black here in a best of 5? That's the big question coming out of this. Wolf, what do you think?
I mean, you look at a team like MVP Black, such a storied team, 7 premier title victories in this storied history. This team has played since the beginning of Heroes of the Storm, winning tournaments people probably don't even remember. But this team has won so many titles, and they're facing off undefeated, by the way, in HGC Korea. Haven't dropped a single series, dropped only 3 maps against the number 3 seed from Europe. We talked about the David and Goliath story here, but I think people forget that Expert actually has players that have such a rich history as well. Players like a Thorough Angel, the original great Tyrael player we saw back in 2015. ADRD's been a staple of the European scene for a long time. But I think the experience of Black here is going to be very difficult to overcome. And
somebody to point out that Jayhao brought up prior is Nick, a player that for you on Team Expert has been standout throughout the tournament.
He's been an incredible standout player. Everything that he does, it seems to work really well for their team. The KDA on the Tracer there doesn't even do justice to what we saw in the game yesterday. He was just played so incredibly well. He's got that diverse hero pool that kind of fits the, if we need Mage style, we can go that way. If we need to get a Genji in there, we can go Tracer. By the way, when I researched all the Vala players, guess what? He's at the top of the list. This guy, we haven't seen the Vala yet. When you need those heroes, he is on those heroes, and he does so incredibly well. I'm glad we were able to pull that up, because he has impressed me. The matchup, we talk about Rich a lot, right? And I want to see Rich versus Athero, but Reset versus Nick in this series, like, that gets me hyped, man. I'm ready for this.
And Nick definitely delivered yesterday against Dignitas on the Tracer. Very key part of winning that game. I'm very excited, Klaus, about the different styles. Been researching the draft, you know. I'm always interested to see if these teams study only their results from this tournament of each other. What do they think? What do they know?
Yeah.
And we see these really cool trends coming out with MVP Black barely banning support at all. Actually, sorry, Expert barely banning support at all.
Okay.
Out of a total of 16 bans, only 2 were support bans. Then you look at MVP Black, and they have 9 supportive bans if you count Abathur out of their games of only 12 games. So there's a very different style here going on, but they do prioritize the same heroes. Tracer, Reset, Nick, and you know, Muradin, Rhaegar. So their draft looks very similar, but the bans are completely different, and they know this about each other. You know, they're going to do this research. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in this best of 5.
Well, the HGC universe can join in with all the festivities going on here for the HGC 2017 finals as well by cheering for which team you think is going to be victorious or the one that you just care the most for. It's up to you, really. It's your choice. We're trying to approach the 28 million mark as we're currently at 27,606,730. Easy peasy. Well played, HGC universe out there. Good stuff rolling on in. And looking at how this stacks up, we mentioned it before, it's best of 5 format. So that kind of changes things up. This is probably one of the best opportunities for us to really see how flushed out the meta has been between these teams.
If we want to talk real talk, I think if MVP Black is going to lose this tournament, even if they win this match, I think one of the reasons why they might lose this tournament is because Expert pushes them to the brink in their drafting, forces them to show things that they haven't shown so far. They've hidden a lot, I think, in their draft at the moment. So if Expert can actually force them to show their hand a little bit, maybe if they make the grand finals, it's going to get a little bit tougher.
There's something to be said about the interviews that we saw, and that it feels like Expert is already in the heads a little bit of MVP Black. We saw 2 players on that team both say, we know they're going to do something different. We know they're going to do something different. And when you have to be on your toes and react to potentially some very strong, different strategies, you're not using. That's what I said, the little EU spice. You know, it's in their head right now.
Well, let's find out which battleground we're going to be going to for game number 1 in this best of 5. And MVP Black will take us to Tomb of the Spider Queen. What do we make of it, boys?
Well, first of all, we have to talk about the Warhead ban. Totally standard from MVP Black. No surprises. But the Sky Temple ban from Expert, very intelligent as well. Allows them to play that European safe late game where they don't get snowballed in the early game that Black loves to do on Sky Temple. So I think these bans are fantastic on both sides in terms of what they were looking to do here. Very much a comfort ban for Black. But Tomb, let's see how this one pans out.
All right, let's get into it. The first best of 5 of the day. These teams have already won $75,000, but the winner of this best of 5 moves on to the grand final and at least claims themselves $200,000. MVP Black goes up against Team Expert.
Right away, I feel like we've seen so much Tracer play. Normally flexing over to Thero on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Wonder if this might be a Tassadar ban who does contribute to the wave clear. It's a safe hero for ADRD. Or just take away Nick's Chromie and get rid of that.
Yeah, big threat always in terms of denying turn-ins on this map. When you prioritize a battleground like this, obviously that's something you are going to be concerned about. MVP Black's always been an objective-based team, meaning that rather than team fighting or trying to out-macro their opponents, they try to focus on the objective. And we're going to see Tracer Morales come out here. Not a surprise from MVP Black. They love that extra sustain that Morales can give for the Tracer in that 4-man rotation, and it's very powerful.
So now, with Tracer being on the side of MVP Black, Team Expert probably has to consider either a Tassadar pick or a Tassadar ban. And MVP Black's draft was very fast, so they anticipated for this scenario. We knew that the preferred warrior and support for either team are Muradin and Rhaegar, and they'll generally draft those first, with the exception of Tracer. You'll pretty much not see any assassins from either of these teams the whole tournament so far. Except Tracer in that first half of the draft. There was one exception where Expert took an early Genji, but pretty much for the rest it's all supports and warriors in that upper half. Now Expert needs to decide, do they go with Tassadar or not?
I'm glad you mentioned that because I actually feel they should go into a potential Rhaegar here. They end up going both. I actually like this a lot for the sole purpose of now you take away one of those, because if you only picked one here, you can only ban out another. You give up the potential Rhaegar, you give up the potential Tassadar. Now I would actually like to see them move into an Ana ban. That was going to be the next part that I was talking about, is that you take away that, because because Morales can be played by Sake or Kyocha, and it's normally Sake, and they try and do the 3-2 split, and in this instance, now they can control the support meta of MVP Black, because that's literally them in a bubble with Rhaegar, Morales, Tassadar, and Ana right now.
Yeah, I think the Ana ban is very situational, though, because this could just be hyper carry Tracer. We've seen it in Korea so many times where you don't necessarily want to use the Ana with Tracer because Ana boost isn't going to do as much for the Tracer here. So I don't know if that's necessarily required here, but I really like the priority of wave clear, because when MVP Black runs these zeros, especially on this battleground, it's about that wave clear and sustain in the format where you end up hitting that turret ammo, wearing it down, getting that lead, which allows you to zone out the turn-ins. Going back to that Chromie ban, that is what Black wants to do on this map. Out sustain in lane, push, 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 get that advantage with the minion waves, take those turn-ins.
Now the funny thing is, if Ana is a ban, Ana generally gets paired up by Black with either Sonya or Ming. And if Sake is on Morales, then he's not on Li Ming. I put reset on Li Ming, that's possible. But you could also see a Sonya ban here at this time.
I will say what scares me a little bit about going into the TAS Rhaegar is that there's not any real pulse bomb protection outside of the shield, which is on a longer cooldown than it used to be. So Tracer has those 8-second windows essentially that you can go in. You obviously got the shield time as well, but you have those windows that you'll have. So the Tracer player at this level will be trying to pick those up. So again, with that, the Rhaegar are very susceptible to that. No self-ancestral, things like that.
So there's a few pocket bans, a few pocket picks for MVP Black that come out pretty much in the last pick of the rotation of the draft. Zeratul, Ragnaros, Malthael, and pretty much Malfurion as well, who's kind of sneaking up in the top win rates of heroes that get played a decent amount. Ragnaros ban takes care of one of them, and arguably the most important one, considering it's Tomb of the Spider Queen. And like you said, Wolf, objective-based play here, MVP Black, it would suit their style really well to defend those Web Weaver turn-ins.
Yeah, I think this Dahaka ban is really interesting because Black has flexed into double DPS only very recently at the end of HGC Korea, for example, with the Falstad pick, like we've seen from Quagnix in the past, right? So I think this ban on Dahaka is trying to like threaten Expert, like watch out, what if we actually take a global on this map? Gonna see Johanna, who has an abysmal win rate in this tournament, by the way, picked up here now. And this kind of feels like somewhat of a soft ban on Nick's Greymane here. It can block a lot of the damage he's taking. And again, it goes back to that wave clear. This format with Malfurion, Johanna, Morales, like you can't out-sustain that with the draft that Expert currently has. Even with Psystorm, even with Rhaegar, it's going to be very difficult to win that rotation.
I'd like to see the Greymane here. I think Vala is a safe option, but again, the protection style that you have there with Tracer coming in, Greymane has a little bit higher health pool, can go into Worgen Farm, get the armor, things like that. But again, the shields are going to have to be very timely, and generally Vala, you kind of use it on cooldown to make sure she gets the heals, get that self-sustain out of that. With Greymane, it's more of a pick and choose style, and I think they can adapt to that, but they've got to make that decision, and I think it's a tough one right now because the last pick on the side of Black, very open on what it could be.
Yeah, and we have that flex roll for Rich there in that final position. Some of those pocket picks of melee assassins. For now, Expert is going to choose their final two. A very solid draft so far. Li Ming, Greymane, the classic quintessential draft by Team Expert. Versatile on every side, and it's going to be Zarya. So we have the hyper support composition here. Zarya, a warrior, but with shields together with Morales and Malfurion. This is a pretty heavy emphasis on the Tracer, but don't forget about Malfurion. 7 wins, 3 losses, highest win rate hero of any hero that got played 9 or more times.
Yeah, and Malfurion does allow you to do a lot of things. You can pair this with a Blessed Shield, his silence there. You can pair this with a big Condemn. But what I really like about this final pick of the Zarya is it gives you such massive pushing power, and I think that's what Expert is really going to struggle with. They struggled against Ballistics when Ballistics played this slow, patient style. They kind of got poked out. They got chipped out of the game, grinded out essentially, as they just kind of had to sit back blow for blow because Black is such a safe team. It's going to be tough to find openings with this, but I do like that they bring in the second damage here, Li Ming, which lowers the power level of Johanna's blinds.
But that's the thing that is, I guess, a little bit confusing to me because I think for MVP Black, they snap block that, but I almost think that was in response to the Li Ming. Zarya does really well against burst damage heroes. Oh, you're going to throw out this big arcane orb? Thank you for the energy. Outside of that, you generally don't get much energy if it was to be the Vala or something different, but the burst style really contributes to Zarya play here. I don't know if that would have been the pick had Li Ming not been on the other side.
Probably.
So.
I mean, there were some other options, but Rich was a little bit target banned. You know, Ragnaros, the Haka, they were already gone. on. One more cool thing to say is Zarya can interrupt the pay station really well with basically infinity grenades. So there is a lot of control over both the objective and you have the infinity unbreakable push style that MVP Black can now employ.
You talk about energy, I think a lot of the energy is going to be coming from cannon towers more than it's going to be coming from anything in the early game. So,
well, gentlemen, we are ready to head over to our commentators for this best of 5. So without further ado, the round of 4 begins here for day number 2 for BlizzCon.
The final day here at BlizzCon, and it's getting exciting. But before we start here, Caldor, I got a bit of a gift behind you if you want to go ahead and take a look.
Yeah,
we got
thanks
this
a lot.
Murky back here. First picking it. Got some hopefuls. You like that?
Yeah, but we didn't have them for Murky first pick just yet. But I wouldn't put it past Expert. They have always been a bit crazy. In this game, on the other hand, the surprise pick came more so from MVP Black.
Well, let's go ahead and go into it. Game on number 1 here as we move into Tomb of Spider Queen. MVP Black taking on Expert. It's going to be a good one here. A lot of teams, a lot of people thinking that MVP Black is going to walk away with this tournament. But Team Expert, they've already shown they're willing to mix things up for a lot of teams.
They played fantastic just yesterday against Team Dignitas, but today we have to the left side a very different beast. It's Saka on Morales, a reset for the Korean team on Malfurion, Tist on Johanna at the front line, Kyoja on Tracer for the damage output, and Rich on Zarya. Ladies and gentlemen, MVP Black!
On the right side in the red, Kirsten will be playing Rhaegar, becoming the one trick of the entire tournament. Bad Benny playing Murden. A Thorough Angel on that gray main. Gonna be following up ADRD playing Tassadar. And Nick will be playing Li Ming. Give it up for Team Expert.
So already a couple of changes. We're heading into our first game of the best of 5 here. Now, first of all, Bad Benny is taking a bit of a page out of the book of the Koreans on Murden, going straight into the perfect storm for the stacking progress. Now, they are supported by 2 supports here, of course, so that makes it for Murden a little bit easier to mitigate some of the damage. You're going up against the Tracer, so you're very unlikely to head into block, which is another reason why we see them with the extra blower potential. Trying to lead the charge with a good Storm Ball, the extra damage that comes through perfect storm then later on, and Li Ming and Greymane, of course, attempting to finish off the target.
Yes, it will be. Kyoja going to be going for that pulse break at the level 1, looking for those extra pulse bombs to come in, try and blow up targets that come their way. It's going to be very helpful against the double support that you mentioned earlier. If you can get a target blown up, in particular the Li Ming, the Greymane, or the Rhaegar, MVP Black will start off a fight well. Bad Benny already missed some Storm Bolts, but look at Rich on the bottom side, building up the energy and pressuring the bottom lane.
Another talent that we actually have here is for Tassadar. Templar's Will is taken, and especially when you're looking at the European side, most of the time we're going to spec into the Storm just to make sure that the Psy Storms later on, you have the extra radius, you have the extra damage, and that really helps you to soften up these targets, and it works, of course, fantastic with Wave Clear too, which is super important here.
Team Expert going to be showing off that different level 1 on the Tassadar, but so far our lanes are looking pretty solid as we have Li Ming in the top side just poking away as she can. It's really the story of that bottom lane, and Team Expert, they're answering back by trying to trade out kills in the middle lane, yet they have not had the chance to get a pickup. MVP Black knows their priority is the bottom lane and breaking down turrets.
I mean, the biggest question here is definitely how can Expert measure up against MVP Black in a tournament environment. We talked a lot about them making their way over to Korea for the boot camp. It was really interesting to hear Reset earlier talk about how he feels that they are doing really well against Expert in scrims, because we heard exactly the opposite from Saka, who told us we really struggle against them. We have a negative win ratio against Expert, and they always surprise us with the priorities they have in draft. So it's pretty interesting to see that both of the players on the side of MVP Black kind of contradict each other a little bit here.
Dad, on top of that, Bad Benny yesterday, after their win against Dignitas, that big 2-0, he was already talking about how he was ready to face MVP Black because of that reason. They knew that they could take them on because of scrims. So the question is, was MVP Black holding back in scrims, or do they have secrets here that they're ready to show? Look at Rizzo, he's in trouble on the bottom side, and Zarya gets picked up as Team Expert. They find the first kill of the day.
Expert with the first kill here, taking down Zarya. Very well played here too. Bad Benny zoning the entire time and holding the Storm Ball back for a bit longer. So Black at this point a bit more defensive, and Kyoja in particular has to be very careful on Tracer here, since the bot lane is being pushed heavily. Athera, of course, on Greymane, always using the opportunities he has to put the extra damage on the structures. And overall, Expert is actually doing really well, breaking through the wall at the top too.
Yeah, it's actually a common strategy when you see a Zarya pick on the other hand. Team Expert is doing their best to find her isolated and pick her off, especially after she uses a shield. Curson getting picked in the middle lane though on that Rhaegar, and Thorough might be going down as well. Tis will be able to hit the condemn, but luckily a Thorough is able to get out. Bad Benny needs to sneak away. Here's a root. He's low, but he finally hops to safety.
Pretty close call there for sure. The Krillon just coming back in time. Great route from Malfurion in particular, locking him down as he is trying to escape behind the gate. And in the meantime, Li Ming is still doing her thing at the top lane. But what we can see in the middle is really just Rich pushing through with Zarya right now. And that is that siege up style that Black wants to play here.
It's an early game advantage of having a Zarya on your team, especially with the Tracer and the Morales. You can consistently top off, make sure you're good to go. You have the shield pop in to get the extra damage, and you're looking to just break down the turrets to get an experience advantage. Now, Team Expert getting that kill on the other side, probably to offset off, but MVP Black with the kill on Rhaegar still having that lead, moving towards level 7, and finally even getting a turn in. This is where they could start to run with this game.
Exactly. In the perfect world for them, they would now heavily siege up on a lane, take down their fort, take the lead in experience, snowball it towards level 10, and put even more pressure onto Expert than in the long run, denying them a turn of their own. So Expert is going to try their best to somehow mitigate that. And they already took a camp, and quite in time, this is going to help with the defense in the mid lane quite a bit.
The mid lane being defended here. Main priority for Team Expert. They already have Greymane on the side and Rhaegar as well to deal with the offset lane, so they should be fine there. MVP Black just needs to decide, do they want to commit to the idea of pushing down the middle lane? And so far, with Zarya being here, the foundation for this team, they're going to stay in this area. In fact, Gyocha's going in for a kill. Bad Benny's getting low. He's cutting to the side here. Nick will take the pulse bomb for his teammate, and Bad Benny will survive.
Bad Benny still in play here, but the push is continuing, and MVP Black is getting in closer to taking down the first fort of the game. So this is going to give them a huge boost in experience, already hitting level 8 here. Expert trying to defend as best as they can, but the push is just a bit too strong.
Looking pretty bad here for Team Expert, a full level behind. They did defend, of course, their bottom and top lane. Might need to get down there as we have Zarya heading towards that area, but still, things are not looking too good for MVP Black, especially if the second fort goes down here, if they push in here and get a kill on Bad Benny.
That's absolutely insane that with the first turn in, you're already trying to take down the second fort here. That usually is, that's extremely rare here, especially on the level that we are looking at right now.
Yeah.
But Expert, on the other hand, even with the loss in infrastructure, they are still kind of close in experience. Now, MVP Black hasn't walked away with too much of a lead just yet. It's roughly half a level. That's something that Expert can still play around, especially if they manage to move in for a turn and before level 10 hits. The one thing they have to be careful about is that they don't time the turn in so that MVP Black hits 10 and can easily defend against the Web Weavers, whereas Team Expert just doesn't have the ability to push in since they can't rely on heroics yet.
Yeah, that window is actually closing pretty quickly. MVP Black was actually willing to not push that fort in all the way on the bottom side to make sure to deny that turn in from Team Expert. And now that window is pretty much closed. Team Expert shouldn't try to go for a turn in, try to relax here and move towards 10 themselves to just play safe. Ooh, they're actually going in for a kill here. They jump on Gyocha. They'll be able to dash backwards and be safe for now.
Benny is in a bit of trouble here now, though, since he has just used his cooldowns, but that's just not enough on-point damage output for MVP Black to really capitalize on it. And we just saw insane KDA on the side of Bad Benny, the tank player for Team Expert, sitting at 50 right now, which is insanely impressive. At this point, though, we have MVP Black making their way towards level 10. In an ideal world, they would try and use that to get the second turn in and then snowball off the second objective.
Well, the only two gems off. There they go. Finally get them here so they can go for that turn in. They're dropping off on the top side. Team Expert are trying to catch one target maybe on the bottom side if they can surprise their opponent, but they have to be careful. If they don't get the kill right away, they have to back up. It's Gyocha and crew, they're coming in for a fight.
At same time, Expert still waiting for the 10. They don't get it. Bad Benny in trouble. Trying to hop out. Doesn't work. He gets a shield, but he's in a world of pain here. Goes down just before level 10 hits. Can't rely on Avatar, and that is MVP Black walking away with another kill. And they immediately seize the opportunity to take down another fort.
And there goes that KDA, just like that. We're going to catch Bad Benny on the bottom side. 10 finally will hit here for Team Expert, but MVP Black has a window here to turn in, and they will do so. Second Web Weaver turn-in of the game goes over to MVP Black, and they're going to be looking for that third fort on the top side.
And at the same time, though, we have Curse Bullet taken by Aethero, so already highlighting that they're really trying to blow up a target super fast. We've been talking a bit earlier about how Bad Benny is trying to get these stacks together for Perfect Storm. He's currently sitting at 14 hits. And so we are roughly 11 away before he completes his quest, but already a bit of an extra damage output if they connect with a Stormbolt.
Stormbolt, Curse Bullet, great targets here, especially if they can catch Zarya when her shield is down. Team Expert on the side does get caught with the Graviton Surge, going to be hit with a Blessed Shield as well. Kyocha dies forward, but Nick is able to slip past the wall and be just safe.
Kyocha is not afraid of anything here. Like, he pushed the envelope so much here, just going deeper and deeper, trying to get that kill. In the end, he wasn't successful, but it was still a scary moment. And we still have Expert trying to defend here. They lost every single fort with the exception of the top lane. That's where we see MVP Black headed right away. Greymane has to defend the bot lane. In the middle, the towers are nearly broken. So MVP Black is just absolutely controlling this game so far.
I mean, look at the comp for Team Expert. Why would Kyocha be scared? If he dodges a Stormbolt, the only major fear is Greymane jumping on you, but without go for the throw being chosen, the kill potential is actually quite small because it's all skill shot based at that point. If Kyocha is able to maneuver around his opponents, he'll be completely safe, especially with Zarya, Malfurion, and Morales keeping him alive.
Yeah, and especially when we're talking about the main damage dealer being Tracer, I think it's also the main reason why AD already switched the build on Tassadar, because he wants to be able to get that damage on the single target. Seems to be one of the main reasons for the adjustment. We have him at the same time now also sacrificing some damage since they didn't go into Archon but used Force Wall instead. So it's all about isolation here. MVP Black has the 13, they go for the boss, but Experts feel pressure to move in and contest it anyways.
Bad Benny having a hard time in that front line with 5 chasing here. Ancestor Healing will connect with the Pulse Bomb coming afterwards, so Bad Benny's back to quarter health, while Greymane was pushing on the bottom and the middle side. The Web Weavers are coming in for Team Expert, so they have successfully stopped the boss, and they got a turn in here. Now is where they can strive for 13.
That was actually huge for them here. So first of all, they made sure that MVP Black doesn't get the boss. That's already incredibly important.
Big win.
And then they got the Web Weaver wave. They are still not in control of level 13, so that's a bit of a problem for them. So they have to be careful with the push, but they at the same time also need to break down some infrastructure to close the gap in experience. And that's what they're going to try and do. Once again, here comes the cleanse. Bad Benny is in a bit of trouble the entire time. He's anchoring for his team all the way at the front, but he is heavily attacked by MVP Black in every single skirmish.
That he is. They're getting low. Kyocha going forward. Bad Benny jumps away. Still trying to chase for him. The Pulse Bomb will connect. He'll use Avatar to stay alive, but Team Expert, they are bruised and battered. They need to back up and get away from the Web Weavers and MVP Black defense.
But at the same time, Black is investing so many resources and so much time to try and force these team fights, so they leave the lanes alone, which allows the Web Weavers to push even more, and we see the result here at the top lane. The fort is about to fall. They can snipe it at any point and gather the experience. And let's not forget, the entire fight happened on MVP Black having a talent advantage. So from Expert's point of view, that can be considered as win as long as they don't lose a hero here.
Ooh, and you can see the potential from them. They try to go for Johanna and get her low. Bad Benny continues to take the front line, but he's fine. He's a dwarf. He can take this aggressive damage from the end. He turned around. They're going for reset. He used Ice Block earlier. Finally going to be using it now. And that is going to be a reset. Blocking away. Pulse Bomb does connect, and a Thorough gets out. That Ice Block just came up because he had used that a minute earlier.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, even before the Ice Block was actually activated, it looked like he would fall for sure. I loved how Bad Benny just jumped the wall here, and they said he was in trouble, actually, and they said, okay, we can still take this. So Malfurion tries to get the Twilight over the wall, but they sniff him out and go for him, but they can't confirm the kill, and that was absolutely insane that he was able to get away there.
Series getting very close between these two teams. If you remember yesterday, Team Expert against Dignitas, they were in a spot where they were massively behind, but they are calm and collected and can find a way to come back at any point. MVP Black needs to be aware of this and be slow with their movement. Kyocha has to find these kills he's looking for.
At the same time, though, we have Templar's Will for Tassadar on level 1 now completed, so he has also the extra range. We are still 5 hits away from Murding completing his Stormbolt quest, but of course he has now already another 100 damage on those hits, and he's trying to confirm them against Kyocha, which is pretty difficult, but if he gets that one hit, the team will follow up immediately.
Immediate Curse Bullet. Nick coming up with the Li Ming damage. That's going to be a dead Tracer for sure. The level 13 there for Tassadar, you're talking about it, the nullification is really, really important there. Making sure to be able to use that around the Tracer. And also, the Blessed Hammer getting picked up here for Johanna.
Yeah, definitely just changing the build up a little bit. So far in the tournament, we have seen a variety of builds on Johanna, but Blessed Hammer now taken on level 13. The Blue Web Weavers coming down once again. Team Expert, they had the amount of gems they needed, but they could not control the turn-in points. And MVP MVP Black is looking to take down the first keep as they push in with the Web Weavers, and they will also hit level 16 at the same time.
This is very scary for Team Expert. Bad Benny still not even finished that level 1 quest. Kyocha's going in for Nick. He misses the pulse bump as Nick will sidestep it. Team Expert turns around and they'll try to clear out these Web Weavers, but they're already hitting the keep in the middle.
Expert is doing a fantastic job staying alive in these fights. Their problem is that they just lose through the objective. Black is easily pushing in and taking the first keep, and Expert is desperately trying to hold on, hit 16, and then at some point force a fight, but they haven't really found the opportunity yet.
Well, they do lose out in the keep on the middle side, but Greymane was able to defend the top lane, so they can put all their efforts here on the bottom and defend the lane being pushed in. MVP Black shouldn't be able to get a keep here unless they get a pickoff, but they are pushing in as a unit of 5, hoping to use this talent advantage to their advantage, and they move on in. Here's a pulse bomb going straight on Bad Benny.
Yeah, Bad Benny once again survives here for now. So far, only 2 kills for MVP Black. Expert is just losing infrastructure after infrastructure. The Dwarf hops out once more. The problem for Team Expert is really they need to get another wave. They need to take down these forts to close the experience gap. And so far, MVP Black just doesn't allow that. They control the map, they control the turn-in points, and they go in for the kill. And this time, they are likely to get it. There goes Greymane. He is down, and MVP Black with 2 keeps gone might make the play for the core if they get another kill.
Yeah, this might get worse here for Team Expert. ADRD is able to get away, and so is Bad Benny, but suddenly the core is being assaulted here as MVP Black is grouping as 5 and pushing in. They'll have catapults here soon as well. They get through the armor. 15 seconds till Greymane pops up.
Expert desperately trying to somehow defend this, but MVP Black is on the core. The potential kill against Rich not happening. Kyocha in trouble. Ancestral comes out, but Tracer is gone, and Team Expert with a 77% on the core is trying to turn it around, trying to get the second kill, and they do. Morales is dead.
Team Expert will defend, but they are still not 16, but they do have a turn-in available for them. Can they take the 16 and push forward and break open the map finally?
Boss, they can make a play for Boss here. They can go for the objective. They need momentum now. They have level 16. It's finally there, and they need to use that opportunity.
They try to go for the kill here on Rich, but Rich does a really good job here of staying alive thanks to Morales. Sake on the back left side, but the problem is Kyocha goes a little bit too far for it. He gets picked off, and then Sake is in a position where he's all by himself. The Stormbolt connects, and that'll be the death there of Sake, leading to the 2 kills. And now we go straight to the boss, which is now being assaulted here by Team Expert as they look to burn it down and get a turn in.
Yeah, they need to definitely stack the 2 now, and they need to gain momentum. They have 2 lanes that are pushing against them. It's the only chance they have here. 16 gave them more damage potential with Mirror Ball on Li Ming, and we also have Greymane with Alpha Killer. They need these snipes. They need to go for these insta blow-ups against the front line of MVP Black, confirm an early kill, and snowball it from there. They're so far behind. From a structural perspective, they need to make sure that this push with a boss, with the objective, at least gives them 1 keep.
The checklist is very hard here for Team Expert. They have to deal with the push in the middle. The mercenary camp's coming in. Finally, they do clear that out, but they're not able to help Assault on the top side. Push in there and try to break down that keep wall. So they'll have to scoop up in the middle lane here and try to open up the forts. Things are looking pretty dire here for Team Expert with MVP Black having all 5 up.
But they push the lanes out, so they have a bit of potential of pushing here. They see Malfurion at the top. Web Weaver is going to come down there, so at some point, Black needs to send someone top to defend the lane. Greymane making his way into the mid lane right now. Expert is looking for that kill, and the extra range on the jump from the Dwarf is going to help them here. Nick gets the shield, denying the Tracer kill for now. But once again, here comes the Force Ball. Expert looking for an opportunity, but Black playing it extremely safe.
Kyocha trying to build up into another Pulse Bomb. Team Expert realizing this has to pull away here, especially with them not having a Web Weaver. They run to the bottom side.
They need to get more. They need to get more at this point right now. They haven't taken the fort in the mid lane. They need more experience. MVP Black is too far ahead. You can't give them the 2 lanes here. If there's no kill for Expert, it's going to be a very rough game from here on out. Since MVP Black is still a level ahead, they will still hit 20 before Expert is even close to it.
Black knows this. They play safe until they clear the Web Weavers. Then they turn around and drop a Blessed Shield. Bad Benny will get focused. Exceptional healing will connect. Bad Benny trying to turn around here for the kite. Wants to go in for the fight.
Tracer nearly dying, but Kyocha survives. Once again, they're going for a Thero. Here comes Bad Benny. No hit points, no mana, but he wants to save his teammates. And Thero goes down. A great grenade on the side of Morales pushes him back in. And MVP Black with a double kill against Greymane, against Muradin, and they drop Li Ming as well.
ADRD takes a dirt nap. He'll fall there. There's 4 members down. Only Rhaegar is left up. MVP Black charges straight towards the core here, and they're looking for the first win in this best of 5 series. They'll drop a Pulse Bomb, and everyone will hit the right click.
Black going straight for the core. Fantastic first game by them here, controlling the objective, controlling the turning points, and not leaving Expert any opportunity at all. As MVP Black goes for the core, drops it, and takes game number 1 in the best of 5 series here in the semi-final.
MVP Black comes out on Tomb of the Spider Queen, gets an early advantage, and takes that small advantage and runs with it. Hits level 10, gets a couple turn-ins, and takes Expert, who's a slow, methodical team in this tournament, and just completely puts them up on top of their head.
It was all on Kyoja with 70,000 damage that he just put out. And even though Expert really tried to take him down, they could never really pull it off.
Having a really hard time there. Team Expert is going to go down here to MVP Black 1-0 in this best of 5 series. Let's go to our host and our analysts here as they talk about the match.
An intimidating start by MVP Black here to get things going on Tomb of the Spider Queen, because realistically, they looked solid. There was no real weaknesses, no real moments where Expert could get in there and try and kind of pick their composition apart.
I feel like this just goes back to everything we said in the draft. They have wave clear, they have pushing power, and it was really just, I mean, a Team Expert with the shield up, taking blow by blow all game long. They had 2 turn-ins, they had 2 potential moments to get back into the game as a counter highlight. They didn't do enough. I think Thorough Angel had a very bad game of Greymane as well, finishing his cocktail build, I think, at 1640 in that game on Tomb against a pushing composition. Very late finish there, some positional mistakes, and Black does not mess around when you make these sorts of positioning mistakes.
Well, you know, he was the split pusher. It was his role to try and create split map pressure, to try and stop this big 5-man from bulldozering down the mid keep. And I think that's probably why, you know, the cocktail can't get stacked this fast. But it's indicative here of the problematic, you know, game approach here for Expert, because Expert actually ran this kind of unbreakable comp before with Tyrael, but they did it on Dragonshire against Ballistics, and they lost with it. And that's because Dragonshire is one of the most split maps. 3 different lanes that are all very important. Whereas on Tomb of the Spider Queen, the lanes are so close together that this kind of unbreakable comp is very strong. Now, they picked this early on, Tracer Morales, and MVP Black actually ends up making Morales look really broken. And then finally, you have this Murden Tassadar Rhaegar by Expert, and then they had a choice. You have to deal with Morales, and then you have to deal with Johanna and Malfurion. So, like, how do you get to Morales? Focus Morales, right? But they go with the double backline, Li Ming and Greymane. And so, this is like a heads-up approach. It's not something like Hook, it's not something like Deep Dive, like Kerrigan. It was a good draft, but I'm actually shocked to see how well the Black draft performed.
The whole thing about it is this is their preferred battleground. If you look back at first picks at other large events, this is what they like to first pick on their map. That and Battlefield of Eternity are their 2 priorities. And as we talked about yesterday, when they went against Team Freedom, it was a matter of, it's kind of hard to cheese it up a little bit, get those odd strategies coming out on a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen. So Team Expert will have an opportunity as we move forward. Again, it is a best of 5. So putting a lot of weight into that first game, I'm not quite there yet.
Grover, some standout moments.
Yeah, mostly we see the macro play, bulldozering down with an unbreakable comp, but there's 2 cool little moments that I would like to focus everyone's attention on for a little bit more. As we go into the game and we see there was this really cool thing that Nick did as we roll it at 1x speed. Bad Benny gets in danger, and we look here, and Nick is on purpose blocking the pulse rounds that is going to come on Bad Bunny that would probably finish him off, considering the delay of the Tassadar shields. You know, maybe yes, maybe no. So that's kind of a cool thing. And then we get to that second moment here. You know, these are the micro plays for which there was space. In comes Johanna with the Blessed Shield, and we see this big move. But Reset is caught in a very awkward location here. And very nicely recognized by Expert. Bad Benny deals with 2 problems at the same time. His own life is in danger, and Malfurion looks to be out of position, so they're gonna make a jump for him. This was sick. This was supposed to be a takedown here for Team Expert, but very nice prioritization by Reset. First with the Twilight Dream, then as we pause it, very cool, incoming by Zarya to deal with that expulsion zone as well. Then he uses Ice Block, and eventually at the exact right time, while Silence is still up, he will run away as we run it forward. a very key save here, because this kind of kill onto the Spider Queen could have changed everything for Expert here. And it was a very narrow affair. I don't think Reset had more than 20 HP.
Yeah, and this is one of those moments where you see the power of these kind of control of choke points from MVP Black with the expulsion zone, the silence, the blind that comes over there at the end. It was just at all those moments they were just so close to killing him, but they just couldn't quite pull it off, pull it through.
All right, game number 1 in the books here. MVP Black currently takes the 1-0 lead. We're going to hear a word from